Welcome back to Cinema Corner. I'm Blake, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Josh and Alex.
Who is going to be on Sam's team? That is the premise of today's video.
Yeah, this is the real Avengers. I don't believe in this BS new Avengers.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, as we all know, Sam Wilson was tasked in the Captain America Brave New World movie, tasked with starting the new Avengers by, at the time, President Ross. And at the end of the movie, he mentions to Joaquin Torres that he is gonna, maybe it is time to start the new Avengers. So obviously, we can assume he's creating an Avengers team. Sam Wilson will be Captain America heading it, and obviously Joaquin Torres will be the Falcon on that team. So I don't know. How do you guys want to do this, one at a time, or somebody gives their full list? What are our preferences here?
Give the full roster.
Give the full roster. Yeah. Okay. Alex, thoughts?
Okay. Obviously, the leader, Sam Wilson, Cap, Joaquin Torres, Falcon. And then here's where we get to the not so obvious characters. I have Thor joining the team. I just feel like it makes the most natural sense. He doesn't really fit anywhere else, especially with the Guardians not being confirmed, or I don't even think they're even going to be in the movie. Then I have Hulk, pretty self-explanatory. Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Shuri. And the only one that I was debatable on, because I don't know, he's kind of doing his own thing, is Doctor Strange. That's the only one on my list that was kind of like, he could be on the team, technically speaking, but he kind of flies solo, so I don't think he'll be a part of the team, but he's like an honorable mention for me.
I see. That's interesting, some of those characters you have on there.
Yeah, some I just was like, I'm not even going to consider them.
Yeah. Like
Really?
who?
Hulk.
Let's break down his lineup.
Hulk, for me.
Agreed.
I don't think he's an Avenger anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he is, first off,
You're
smart
not
Hulk.
going to have Hulk. You're not going
you-
to have Hulk.
If he's there,
I
he's a
think you
side
are.
character.
But
he's not.
if we're
he's
speaking
not
like where his who's he employed by or whatever, is like, I feel like he's technically working with the Avengers, so I would consider him an Avenger. At the end of Shang-Chi, he's literally working with Captain Marvel and Wong, so it's like, I feel like that's kind of like, I feel like he's gonna naturally integrate into Sam's Avengers team. That's just my thought process for it. Hulk.
I'm not hating.
I mean, I agree.
I'm
That makes
I'm just
sense.
saying that for me, I'm not choosing him.
I think it makes sense logically. I just think in MCU world, there's no way that happens, because that's like the two ways I kind of thought of it. Because I might as well just do my list, because we have very similar in terms of we have everybody the same, except I just have a few less. Obviously, I think Scott Lang, Ant-Man, is one of the first people that Sam will reach out to. Obviously, they've had a running joke for a while about them, but they were together on the raft. Obviously, they've been together in quite a few movies. So to me, that's an easy, he's going to call him. I think Shang-Chi is right there as well, like you mentioned. Same with Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. I think you just need that more galactic, powerful being, as Thor kind of served as the one to travel space and stuff in the original Avengers. And then I agree, Shuri's Black Panther. Obviously, M'Baku is the king of Wakanda, so she doesn't have to deal with being, the ruler of Wakanda as well as a Black Panther like T'Challa did. So I think it would be easier for her to kind of join up with the Avengers team. And that's where my list ends. I thought about a lot of those characters, and obviously there's many more, but I just think logically Thor's a single dad now. I just have no hope that he's going to be around for too much in general, just because of the way the MCU is running it. Same with Hulk. Hulk sucked for a long time. I just don't logically see Hulk becoming a, meaningful character again, unless it's a She-Hulk or, his son, which was shown at the end of She-Hulk. I just don't see Mark Ruffalo's Hulk being a main character anymore. And, I thought about Wong or Doctor Strange. Obviously, Wong being the Sorcerer Supreme, and like you mentioned at the end of the one where we saw Wong, Captain Marvel, Hulk, Shang-Chi. Is that everyone in that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess Katie too, but I mean, it's just not a...
Right.
Like,
we saw all of them
Katie.
talking, so I do agree that they could be an Avengers lineup, obviously, having that, but obviously I just think Doctor Strange is so off on his own thing right now with the multiverse stuff. I don't see him really being a part of it. In terms of Doomsday, I think going forward possibly, but I'm just more of the Doomsday approach. I just don't see that being the on the Anthony Mackie team. And Wong, I think, would fit Sorcerer Supreme. Maybe he's too busy, but in terms of Doomsday, that's kind of my expectations of if we see a little Avengers versus New Avengers or somehow come together. That's kind of the 6-man lineup I see Sam Wilson showing up with as his current Avengers team.
I mean, my only little tidbit there is if I had to give a comp for what Hulk could be to this Sam team, is kind of like a Jarvis. He's not really on the field anymore. He's kind of more of like tech support.
Yeah, but I feel like Shuri kind of serves the smart, intellectual, as well as serving the Tony role of having the finances behind and the brains to do things. Shuri kind of serves that role of Hulk is just, he hasn't been anything in the MCU. Yeah. Like you said, logically, Hulk makes sense. But when you think about it in MCU terms, how awful the Hulk's been and everything with Mark Ruffalo, I just don't have a lot of confidence in seeing Mark Ruffalo's Hulk show up too much in the future.
Yeah, and I agree. With my picks, mine was more of who do I see that has had some chemistry with Sam, because that's actually pretty low when I was really like thinking about it. Of Sam's been such a side character and been so just attached to Chris Evans' Cap's side for so long that the most obvious one, obviously, Scott Lang for sure. Ant-Man, that's the only one he has chemistry with besides Falcon. That's going to be a guarantee already. We know. I went with Thor for mine just because of, thinking that it can kind of fit in. I feel like that's an easier pick to get that chemistry going on the screen with Sam is Thor. Just because, he just loves kind of that more honorable guy. And that's obviously what Sam Wilson is. So I think that kind of makes it easy to go. And also they're both funny. And then, Black Panther is 100% lock as well. And like I said, I did not go any Hulk and then Shang-Chi. That's kind of really what I'm rocking with as well. I just think it's going to be a 6-man roster and it's going to stay low amount of people because I think how Thunderbolts was kind of ending is it makes it even in Cap's film, he was struggling. How is he going to do this? Now he's not even have the government on his side. He really doesn't have any. It's just him. It's got to be a low roster team. And he only has chemistry with like 2 people. And that's it, So also, I think the reason why I don't think Captain Marvel is going to be an Avenger, not that she isn't going to still be a big part, is that she's just too powerful. And I think they want to maybe limit the power scale of Sam's team to kind of make the new Avengers Thunderbolts kind of at least still relevant and fun.
Yeah.
Because they're all just super soldiers. So if you add Captain Marvel to that, if they try to do a pick your side thing,
if you're looking at it that way, I feel like
that's 2 ways
Sentry and Captain Marvel kind of just like.
Well, yeah, that's assuming you have Sentry though, because obviously at the end we saw, which we do assume Sentry's going to be there. That was my same thought process. If I was like, okay, if we are leaning towards Avengers versus Avengers, like straight up comps in terms of they might fight each other, I agree. That's why I was kind of like, okay, I'm not really going to add Captain Marvel for that aspect. But then I kind of thought about it. I was like, okay, if Sentry becomes Sentry again, then there you go. Captain Marvel and Sentry can battle each other. And I just feel like I realistically, I don't really think she will be a part of it. I just think that Captain Marvel is going to be a huge role or should be a huge role in the future because of how powerful she is, that it just kind of makes sense that if you have an Avengers team, you should have arguably the most powerful character on that team. Yeah. But I could see her kind of being like, she has too much with the ability to travel, across planets, that she would be too occupied to really be able to, be just dealing with Earth threats.
I think she's I think also the reason why is I'm sticking to the low rosters. I think going to Doomsday, it's just going to be a lot of free agents, 2 small teams, and then those free agents are going to be signed in the next movie. That's how I would envision it because there's no on-screen chemistry at all. So you're kind of building up that chemistry and
Doomsday.
Then going into it, and you don't want to make Sam's team too powerful. Also, I think it doesn't make too much sense if he does get too powerful. You know, if he got Captain Marvel, in my opinion, even more, it's like, I don't know. I don't remember if they even interacted. I can't even recall, to be honest, if they had even one line of dialogue together.
No, not really, because
Yeah.
the only time they would have been
a lot of
around would have
characters haven't
been
had.
It was Rhodey.
right.
Yeah, Rhodey talked to her, but I don't think it was
Yeah,
her
you would
at
have
all.
had the
No,
fight
at all.
scene after Endgame would have really been the only time they were around each other during that battle when
Yeah.
Sam came back. But yeah, I agree that, like you said, I think it is going to be a very smaller lineup because you want it somewhat comparable to the new Avengers, like you mentioned, that you can't go too powerful, which is why I kind of thought, a Thor would not be available. But I think we all agree, though, that definitely, obviously, Sam Falcon and then Scott, Shuri, and Shang-Chi are pretty much locks on his team. And then I feel like it's kind of just like one or two extras that you can kind of debate about who's going to be who. But agreed, it is kind of tough with the lack of chemistry that Sam's been able to have with a lot of characters.
I kind of also got a dumb reasoning. I don't know if you say it's really dumb. Also, for some of my picks is because they have a picture of some of the people on my team, Chris Hemsworth being one, with everybody seeing a screening of Thunderbolts, and so you saw, Sam Wilson, Thor, and all of them kind of together. Shang-Chi was in the picture too. Everybody together. More indication that maybe, but it did have also some other characters I don't think is going to be. Obviously, Gambit was in the photo too as well, etc. But
we can only hope.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, now thinking about it, I like if I don't include Doctor Strange, which already was like a debatable thing for me. My roster is a 7-man roster. I mean, I would say the only ones that you're kind of like talking me into not being on the team would be Captain Marvel, just because of that power scaling aspect, and I could technically see her kind of take that role that that Thor had in Infinity War, like a really powerful character on a like smaller team, like the Guardians. I feel like that is kind of like going to be her role in at least in Doomsday, and then potentially in Secret Wars, where she's not really going to be on like the big team until like the final battle of whatever happens. I feel like she's going to kind of be doing her own thing. It's going to be cutting back and forth, and then eventually she'll meet up with the entire Avengers roster by the end of part 2 or whatever.
I think honestly the big thing that kind of decides who that final-ish character is, being one of the powerful ones, is dependent on Sentry. If Sentry isn't going to actually become a thing, it's just going to be Bob Reynolds, then you can't have a Captain Marvel on Sam's team, and honestly, you can't have Thor on his team. Because if we're terming and like of them like fighting each other, quote unquote, obviously Thor alone would murk the entire new Avengers team, being a literal god, and they're just a bunch of super soldiers. Like, what are they going to do? Shoot him? Like, that's no. He's literally, so that's the big thing is if Sentry is there, then they have to have a Thor or a Captain Marvel who could at least put up a fight, because you take out Sentry and you have Thor or Captain Marvel, then it's kind of just like, okay, well, they can't actually fight each other, because then it would just be, you're just going to have to nerf the shit out of one of those two.
Yeah, it is.
And I feel like you'll have to have Sentry. Like, it's you showed him in Thunderbolts for a reason. Obviously, they mentioned that, he can't do it, that's the void. Maybe that'll play into it too. But I feel like you can't show that and not have him be Sentry, at least at some point in the next 2 films, if he survives past Doomsday, which I feel we will.
Yeah, that's true. If that was the last we saw Sentry, there's problems.
Yeah, but there's no way that you're going to show how powerful he is going up against 3 super soldiers and not have him be like a major part of that team. So that's the only reason why I feel like Thor has to be on the other team to kind of like balance things out.
Especially since Superman's coming out too, you'd think they would really want to dedicate a bit more to Sentry, getting some screen time. That's literally
but I mean that's a year away in terms of, I'm sure they're not even thinking of Superman too much in that aspect.
I mean, let's be honest here. I don't think Marvel has even thought of DC once since like 2014.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're kind of an afterthought to them.
I will say that if there was like an actual snake draft kind of thing for these teams, if I'm Sam Wilson, my first pick is going to North Dakota State's own Gray Zabel, because that's a first-round pick kind of player.
Shut the fuck up.
We're talking about picks, and so I just, that's first-round pick.
Talking about free agents.
Yeah. Asante Samuel would definitely be a good signing for Sam
He's
Wilson's
still available.
team. But
Yeah, somehow.
somehow. Yeah, I feel like that kind of pretty much covers everything, unless somebody else has their own. Just quick thoughts. Do we think we actually see some kind of battle in Doomsday? Avengers versus New Avengers?
Like maybe a scuffle at max.
Yeah,
I just don't
I feel
think
like
it's
we
going to
might
get to
get
that point. I mean, how can you in all of that in one film, you know?
especially with the X-Men being in there already. So I feel like potentially it's going to be something like when Iron Man and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man show up and they fight Star-Lord and the Guardians. That's kind of what I would think. It's like
That's
a
true.
brief little fight.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I feel like nobody talks enough about that Star-Lord fucking bodied those 3 guys basically by himself, which is pretty crazy to think about. But I think that's pretty much going to do it for this video, though. That's kind of our thoughts on what our... I can't really say new Avengers lineup, but Sam Wilson's Avengers lineup, I guess you could say, is going to be... Yeah, exactly. The real ones. As always, let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts are, who Sam might be trying to recruit for his team. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.